I sat in my old bedroom in Charleston, sunlight slanting through lace curtains, surrounded by acceptance letters from Harvard, Yale, and Columbia. My mother paced like a metronome, her designer heels striking the wood floor with sharp precision. Tech ventures, she practically hissed the words. Claire, you're a Whitmore, we're attorneys. Your father is a senior partner. I'm a partner. Your brother's a partner. Whitmore and Crane has been our legacy for 4 generations. And it's fossilized in the past, I countered, lifting my laptop so she could see the prototype glowing on the screen. The legal industry is shifting, Mom. Someone has to build the bridge between law and technology. Dreams don't pay the bills, she snapped, pointing at the letters spread across my desk like trophies. Harvard Law has been your path since the day you were born. The corner office at Whitmore and Crane has your name on it, literally. She wasn't wrong. My grandfather had a brass plaque engraved decades ago, Claire Whitmore, future partner. It hung in the office I was supposed to inherit, gathering dust, while I spent nights writing code and pitching investors. That was 10 years ago. Now, at 35, I stood in my Manhattan office on the 54th floor, glass walls framing a skyline worth billions. My little tech distraction had become Lexora Systems, a legal tech powerhouse with a $5,600,000,000 0 cents valuation after our latest funding round. Our AI-driven research engine wasn't just changing the legal landscape, it was owning it. Progressive firms lined up for subscriptions. The rest? Scrambling to survive. Is Whitmore? My assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. Your brother Andrew is on line 1, says it's urgent. I smiled. I knew exactly why he was calling. The news had just broken. Lexora Systems acquired controlling interest in 3 of the largest legal research platforms in the country, which meant any major law firm, including Whitmore and Crane, now needed our approval to access essential case law databases. Hello, Andrew, I said, voice steady. Claire, God, tell me this isn't true. You'll have to be specific, I replied, eyes flicking to my second screen, where real-time dashboards showed firms frantically securing contracts with us. Whitmore and Crane sat among the holdouts, still chained to their outdated systems. The acquisitions, he said, breathless. The controlling stake in LexisNexis. Do you realize what this means? It means, I said slowly, that the industry finally caught up to what I tried to tell Mom and Dad a decade ago. He exhaled like the weight of a century had landed on his shoulders. The partners are panicking. Dad's called an emergency meeting. Without access to your platforms, we'll lose half our clients within months. I let the silence stretch, my eyes on the brass plaque mounted on the back wall of my office. A relic from a life I outgrew. Funny, I said at last, how technology matters now, isn't it? There was a long pause. Claire, Andrew said quietly, we need you. Will you come to the meeting? I stared out at the Manhattan skyline, thinking about that brass plaque, still hanging in an office I never claimed. When? Tomorrow morning. Please, Claire. The firm. It's family. Family. I laughed under my breath. The same family that called me a dreamer. The same voices that said I was throwing my life away. We were wrong, Andrew said softly. Obviously, I murmured, opening my laptop. A few keystrokes brought up Whitmore and Crane's financial records. Being a legacy firm came with disadvantages, especially when you were public. Billable hours, down 32% year over year. Client retention, bleeding. They didn't just need access to our databases, they needed a full-scale digital overhaul. Fine, I said finally. I'll be there. Thank you, he exhaled. But Andrew? Yeah? Tell Mom to wear comfortable shoes. This meeting might run long. I hung up and turned toward the sunset, fiery gold against the glass towers. On my desk sat my own brass plaque, a gift from my team, after our first billion-dollar valuation. Claire Whitmore, dreamer and CEO. Sometimes dreams don't just pay the bills, they rewrite the rules. My phone buzzed, a text from Mom. The partners want to know your terms. I smiled, remembering every Thanksgiving dinner where they laughed at my little coding hobby, every holiday where they asked when I'd grow up and join the real world. No terms yet, I typed back. just coming to hear what the great Whitmore and Crane thinks about technology now. Tomorrow was going to be interesting. The next morning, I stepped into Whitmore and Crane's Park Avenue office for the first time in 10 years. The receptionist's jaw practically hit the desk. She remembered me, the rebellious Whitmore daughter who abandoned the golden path. Nothing had changed. Same heavy mahogany paneling, same oil portraits of glowering founders, same leather-bound law books nobody had cracked open in a decade. And there it was, the plaque, Claire Whitmore, future partner, still mounted on the door of an empty corner office like a shrine to expectations unmet. Claire? My mother's voice sliced through my thoughts. She stood there in a flawless Chanel suit, but the confidence she wore like armor now had dents. The partners are waiting. Are they? I checked my watch. A sleek Patek Philippe worth more than half the associates' salaries. I'm 10 minutes early. We've been here since dawn, she admitted. The announcements yesterday caused quite a stir. I can imagine. I followed her down the hushed corridor into the main conference room, where 25 of New York's most powerful attorneys sat around a gleaming mahogany table. Their eyes flicked up as I walked in, some curious, some hostile, most desperate. Well, I thought, taking the seat at the head of the table they once swore I'd never earn, let's talk about the future. Want to see how Claire flips the entire boardroom and makes her family beg for terms? Hit subscribe now so you don't miss the next chapter of this power play. My father sat at the head of the long mahogany table, framed by floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Park Avenue. He looked older than I remembered, his once imposing presence now weighed down by worry. Andrew sat to his right, nervously adjusting his tie like it might choke him. Before we begin, I said, setting my laptop on the table, I'd like to show you something. The partners exchanged glances as I connected to the outdated projector system, a relic of the 1990s. The clunky machine whirred to life, another reminder of how far behind they'd fallen. A real-time dashboard appeared on the screen, crisp and merciless. This red line, I pointed, is Whitmore and Crane's efficiency rating compared to firms using Lexora's platforms. The blue line, client satisfaction scores. And this, I highlighted a particularly brutal downward trend, is your market share over the past 3 years. We get it, one senior partner snapped. You've made your point. Name your price for the database access. I smiled. You think this is about database access? Isn't it? My father finally spoke, his voice gravelly. Your company controls the research platforms we need. No. I closed my laptop with a soft click. This is about survival. Whitmore and Crane isn't just falling behind, it's becoming irrelevant. The room erupted in outraged murmurs. Andrew stared down at his hands like he wanted to vanish. How dare you? Another partner began. How dare I what? I cut in smoothly. Tell the truth? Show you actual data? The same truth I tried to explain 10 years ago, when you all laughed and called me a dreamer? My mother's lips tightened like a sealed envelope. We've managed just fine without you, Claire. Have you? I slid a tablet across the table. On the screen was their hemorrhaging client list. You've lost 30 major clients this year alone, all to firms using our platforms. Not because they're better lawyers, but because they're smarter, faster, more modern. The silence was heavy enough to crush bone. What do you want? My father asked quietly. I walked toward the windows, letting the Manhattan skyline stretch out like a chessboard below us. The chairman is retiring next month, isn't he? The air shifted, a ripple of shock. That was supposed to be a secret. How did you? Andrew started. I know everything about this firm, I said, turning back to them. Every metric, every client, every weakness, and I know exactly how to fix it. Fix it? My mother's voice was brittle glass. This firm has existed for 3 generations, I finished for her, and it won't survive a 4th unless it changes, dramatically. I placed both hands on the table, meeting every pair of eyes in turn. I'm not here to negotiate database access. I'm here to propose a complete transformation. Under you, someone scoffed. Under someone, I said evenly, who understands both law and the technology that will keep it alive. Someone who built a multi-billion-dollar company while you were all laughing at her dreams, I said calmly. My father rose slowly, his face carved with years of certainty, and now something closer to fear. And if we refuse? Then you'll join the dozens of traditional firms that folded last year, I said, shrugging. The legal industry is changing. You can change with it, or disappear. The partners exchanged uneasy glances, their old-world confidence crumbling in real time. My mother's hands, perfectly manicured as always, gripped the edge of the table so tightly her knuckles whitened. The chairman position, my father said at last, each word deliberate. You want it. I glanced at the brass plaque outside, the one that once mocked me, then back to the room of people who'd dismissed me like an afterthought. No, I said, smiling. I want more than that. His voice wavered slightly. More? What could be more than chairman? I tapped my keyboard and the screen flickered to a new document. Gasps rippled through the room as bold letters filled the projector. Luxora Systems proposes a complete acquisition of Whitmore and Crane. I said evenly. We'll keep the name, modernize the infrastructure, and transform this firm into what it should have been a decade ago. Acquisition? My mother's voice was barely a whisper. You want to buy us? Actually, I smiled, letting the silence stretch, I already have. The color drained from Andrew's face. Partners leaned forward in shock. Those client contracts you've been losing, I continued, they didn't just walk away, they were absorbed through subsidiaries controlled by Luxora. As of this morning, we represent 60% of your former billing base. Andrew rifled through papers like a drowning man searching for air. That's impossible. We would have known. Would you? I raised an eyebrow. This from the same firm still running Windows 7? The same firm that hasn't updated its security protocol since 2018? The same firm that keeps confidential client data in, what, filing cabinets? The silence that followed was a kind of surrender. As of 9 a.m., I continued, my tone measured. Luxora Systems holds controlling interest in Whitmore and Crane. I'm not here to negotiate. I'm here to announce. My father sank back into his chair, the weight of defeat bowing his shoulders. His voice was faint, almost broken. All this time, while we thought you were playing with computers, I was building the future, I finished, stepping forward so they couldn't mistake my resolve. The same future I tried to show you 10 years ago. I placed both palms on the glossy table, meeting every eye in the room. Here's what happens next, I said. Every partner has 2 weeks to decide. Join the new Whitmore and Crane fully integrated, modernized and competitive, or retire with a generous package. And leadership? A younger partner cleared his throat. Who's in charge? A new board, I said, my voice slicing through the tension, blending legal mastery with technological innovation. I paused, letting that sink in. And this time, I added, I'll be choosing the board. Dad, I said, turning to him, I'd like you to stay on as chairman emeritus. His brows lifted slightly, surprise flickering across his face. Mom, I continued, there's an opening to lead our client relations division, if you're willing to learn new methods. They exchanged a glance, and for the first time in my life, I saw something I'd never associated with my parents. Uncertainty. Decades of control and tradition crumbling under the weight of undeniable change. And that office? Andrew asked quietly, his voice carrying a strange note of hope. The one with the plaque? I smiled. It'll be our new innovation lab, where young lawyers can dream up new ways to practice law without being told they're wasting their time. Over the next hour, I laid out my vision for the new Whitmore and Crane. AI-powered research that could do in minutes what once took entire teams days to compile. Virtual courts and streamlined digital filing systems. Client portals offering real-time updates. Eliminating the guesswork that drove clients away. Everything I once dreamed of, everything they dismissed as fantasy, was now reality. As the partners filed out, still shell-shocked but cautiously hopeful, Mom lingered behind. I don't understand, she said softly, her voice stripped of its usual edge. Why didn't you just let us fail? After everything we did to you. Mother. I met her eyes and held them steady. Because despite everything, I said, this firm is family, and family doesn't let family become obsolete. 1 month later, I stood in the newly renovated offices of Whitmore and Crane Digital Solutions. Gone were the oppressive mahogany walls and oil portraits of men in stiff collars. In their place, glass partitions, sunlight, and collaborative workspaces humming with energy. The old brass plaque still had a place, mounted in the innovation lab beneath a new one etched in steel. His dreams built this. Late one evening, Dad stepped into my office, my real office, not the one they once reserved for me out of obligation. You know what the strangest part is? He said, watching a team of young lawyers work seamlessly alongside AI tools he once mocked as science fiction. What's that? You ended up exactly where we always wanted you. I tilted my head. How do you figure? Adding Whitmore and Crane, he smiled faintly, just not the way we expected. I thought of that stubborn, terrified 25-year-old who walked away from certainty to bet on herself. No, I said quietly. I ended up exactly where I wanted to be. You just couldn't see it then. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving people wrong. It's proving yourself right so completely that even your doubters have to follow your lead. And sometimes the corner office you're meant for isn't the one your family picks out for you. It's the one you build yourself. If you're still here, it means my story resonated with you, and that means we share something powerful, the courage to dream bigger than anyone thought we should. I want you to do something for me. Drop a comment below. Tell me what part of my story spoke to you the loudest. Was it the moment I walked away from certainty, the years everyone thought I'd fail, or the day I walked back into that boardroom and flipped the script? Share your story too, because I know some of you have lived this in your own way. Maybe you're still in the storm, wondering if your dream is worth the risk. Maybe you're standing where I once stood, ready to break every expectation. I want to hear it all. And if you're rooting for me, if you want to see what comes next, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, this isn't the end of the journey. It's just the start of something bigger. There's another chapter waiting, and I want you here when it unfolds. But before you go, let me leave you with this advice. Stop asking for permission to live the life you want. Stop waiting for someone to validate your dream. The truth? Nobody will fight for your vision like you will. People will doubt you. They'll call you unrealistic, reckless, even selfish. Let them talk. Because the same voices that tried to hold you back will one day have no choice but to follow your lead. So go ahead, start building your corner office, even if it's in your kitchen right now. Start crafting your future, even if it scares you, because the only thing scarier than chasing your dream is living with the regret that you never tried. Subscribe now, because trust me, the best part of this story is still ahead.